All right. We got some folks here in the office, so if you have a question online or here in the office, just yell at me. Don't have a lot of slides today, so I do want to get into some discussions. If anybody on here's ever flipped one, I know Jerry sitting across from me has flipped the house. So if you have anybody has any experience to add to it, let me know. Couple things we're going to talk about today. How do you locate houses to flip has been the biggest question I get these days, especially with the market being at, I think what a lot of us think is pretty much the top, highest it's going to get. Where do you find them at? Used to, you could find them off market. And when I started, you could find them as foreclosures or short sales. Now inventory is so tight, where do you find them at? So we'll talk about that. How do you finance them? Most traditional banks do not like house flippers. They will not talk to you. So where do you get your money from? I'll give you a couple of options that I've used. How do you set a budget? This is the biggest pitfall people run into. You got to make sure you budget for everything. And then we'll talk about some miscellaneous items at the end. Our objective today, two things: make a profit and watch out for pitfalls. So you don't want to do it if you're not going to make any money, because it can be a lot of time invested. And I'm going to give you some of the pitfalls I've seen so you can hopefully avoid them as we go through, because again, this isn't a 30-minute HGTV show. This is real life. I love to see the HGTV shows where they swing a sledgehammer and knock down cabinets. The thing they don't show you is taking the shovel and shoveling the debris into the trash can and trying to lift that 120-pound trash can into a dumpster. That's hard. Or trying to scrape tile off of a floor that's been glued down. That's impossible to do. So those are a few things we'll talk about today. Anybody got any questions or anything that you want covered today? Silence. All right, let's get going. So first thing you ask, how do you find properties? Where do you think you find properties at? Where do you think the best place to find properties at? Liz just said Zillow. We're going to kick Liz out of our class because she said Zillow. It used to be the MLS. Back in 2012, when I was buying houses, you could find foreclosures and short sales. At the time, it was about 16% of our inventory were foreclosures or short sales. Kind of glad we're out of that phase, because nobody wants a bunch of foreclosures. That's not good for anybody. Plus, it also drives your comps down in your neighborhood. MLS, you can find a deal, but you better be fast. You better be really, really fast, and you better have a sweet offer. One of the best ways I found to find houses is networking. And this is something you as a realtor should be doing anyway, but talk to people. If you're just sitting at home not talking to anybody, you're not going to be a successful realtor, and you're definitely not going to find houses, because they're not just going to drop in your lap, I promise you. Talk to your insurance agent, tell them what you're doing. Talk to a lender, tell them what you're doing. I've had an attorney call me and say, hey, I got this house that my dad inherited. He wants to get rid of. You want to buy it? Now, we ended up not buying it, but the attorney did call me when the attorney does closings for hundreds of people, hundreds of different real estate agents, but they knew we flipped houses, so they called me first. I've got my partner's an insurance agent, and he gets leads from people that he works with because they know he flips houses. So talk to people and let them know you're flipping houses. Wholesalers, anybody ever dealt with a wholesaler? Liz said, what is a wholesaler? Good point. Good question. Not a lot of people know what wholesalers are. So if you see these bandit signs, I call them bandit signs, little signs at the street corner says we buy houses, we buy all houses, we buy junk houses, whatever. Those are wholesalers. So they're going to pay you probably 30 cents on the dollar for your house. But if you throw enough of those out there, you only got to hit on one, you can make a lot of money as a wholesaler. So what they're going to do, they're going to tell the person at 123 Main Street that actually called them back, and they're going to buy your house for 50 cents on the dollar. They're going to immediately go out and shop it around to investors that they know and sell it to that investor for 60 cents on the dollar or 70 cents on the dollar. And they're going to do a double closing. So they're going to close on it at 9 a.m. with the original seller. Then they're going to close on it.
Sometimes they don't even do that, don't
They don't right now.
they? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really just a transfer, but I'm trying to simplify it. But they'll close on it at 9:30 with the person that's going to flip it. They never touch it. They don't really have any money out of pocket. But those folks are wonderful to find properties. We've got a wholesaler called New Western that sends me probably 8 to 10 properties a day. Now they're all over the Charlotte region, but if you've got time to go out and see them, then it's definitely worth looking into. We bought a couple from them that are China Grove and Landis. The thing about them, if they send you a notification today, you probably got to go out and see it by noon tomorrow. They're going to open a window from like noon to 1 or 11 to 12 that you've got to go see the property. Before you leave at 12 or whatever that end time is, you've got to say you want it. And then if you say you want it and you get a bid, you get the bid, they're going to follow you to the bank to get your earnest money deposit. So you better have your finances in line. Now that's kind of, I mean, it's kind of demanding, but it can be a good way to find deals these days. Maybe the only way to find deals. We bought 2 this year so far through wholesalers. So, and they've been pretty good for us. And there's several different New Westerns. One of them, I think Cardinal Properties is another one. If you get on their email list, they'll send you properties, and like I said, you just got to be ready to jump, have your stuff in order because they want to close quick. They'll tell you how quickly they got to close. The other one that I did put on here, social media. I know Jeremy Aldridge finds some of his on Facebook Marketplace, and he scours it a lot. So social media may be a good one. I don't know if he's ever got anything on Craigslist, but I know he gets a lot on, or some on Facebook Marketplace. And again, you think about it, if you've got all these wholesalers and you got a pretty big network of houses coming out to you, throw out a bunch of offers. I mean, it's not going to cost you anything to put an offer in, right? And if you get 1 or 2 to stick, great. You got to remember though, you're probably not going to get the due diligence period that you get. Well, I know you're not going to get the due diligence period with a wholesaler. Facebook Marketplace may be a different animal, but just be prepared when you go walk through them. You better know what you're looking at, or have somebody with you that knows what you're looking at.
Hey, Chris.
Any questions on how to find properties?
Chris. Chris, can
Lynette,
you hear me?
I can't. Dadgum, not again. Hold on, Lynette. I can't hear you.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Wrong button. Wrong button again. All right, Lynette, try that again.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
Yay. With wholesale deals, do you have to pay anything like in due diligence?
No due diligence, you got to pay earnest money.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, that's the good thing about it.
Chris, and then they don't pay your commission, the buyer pay the commission. Some of them.
So Yvonne, I've never bought one for a client through a wholesaler. I've always done it for myself, so I never took a commission. I don't know. Have you done that before?
Okay. Yeah, that's why I'm telling you that some of them, they don't pay the commission. So the buyer is in charge of pay your commission, like
Okay.
buyer agent.
Thanks for that. That's good information. Yeah, so Yvonne says that if you're a buyer's agent and you have a client that buys one through a wholesaler, then your buyer is going to be responsible for paying your commission. Make sure you're cognizant of that. That's a good information. Thank you for that. Anybody else have any questions or comments on where to find properties?
I do have a question.
Hey, Rob. Yeah.
And to touch on the earnest money thing for wholesalers, most of the time that's, from what I've seen, is a non-refundable deposit. And it's usually around $5,000 or so.
Robbie, the one I dealt with was refundable, but by that time, we're already in it. I mean, there's nothing else.
Yeah.
We can't go back and look at it. So
have you had any luck with the courthouse?
that's a good one I didn't put on here. So you can buy them at auction at courthouse. We've never successfully done one at the courthouse. We've got into bidding wars at the courthouse before. I will tell you what we did. I hope, well, I'm recording it, but I hope nobody else is. We knew the bidder that we were bidding against, and we offered him money to quit bidding on. And then we had another deal where he offered us money to quit bidding on the property. So I don't think it is. Is there a statute of limitations on it? I hope. I don't know. But did he really? JR, my partner, knew the guy that we were bidding against. So he had a decent relationship.
I didn't have a personal relationship.
Yeah.
I knew people that knew him. And
Yeah.
I called him. He was like, hey.
He wasn't interested.
And then he didn't get it either. So.
Okay. So we had a person that bought the house, and then we told him we'll pay you $5,000 more once you close on it, if you will sell it to us. So he closed on it. We turned around and bought it from him for $5,000 more. So that wasn't technically at the courthouse, but it was a good property. Yeah, again, the thing about these is you got to watch out for your due diligence. The good thing about buying them on the MLS is you're going to have disclosures. You're going to have things that we legally have to follow. When you're talking about networking and finding them off market, wholesalers and that, you're playing in a different ballgame.
I don't know about the courthouse for you, but I was literally driving by, so I had no idea what the house was like.
Oh yeah, you don't have any idea. We bid on one over in Enidville, and this was 3 years ago, probably maybe 4. But we drove by it, great neighborhood, and like, man, this is an awesome house. Well, the people that actually won it turned around, put it back on the market. And so I did a showing just to go look in it. Ooh, I'm glad we didn't, because the inside of it was all the way the layout was. It was a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, like 1,200 square feet. So to be able to redo the inside at that time was never going to get her money out of it. So blessed to not get that one. Yvonne, you got a question or comment?
No, I have a comment. The person that is working with me, he charged $750 for due diligence. No, due diligence, not 5,000. So that is kind of the amount that they cannot charge.
Okay. Is that through a
So-
wholesaler?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Do you know which one
So-
it is? Is it one of the big ones or?
I don't know if it's a big one, but at least it's a good one. He's saying almost
Okay.
60 houses a month.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, but it's 1 hour around Charlotte, so it's
Okay.
everywhere. But it's $750 for due diligence fee.
That's not bad, man.
No, it's not bad at all.
Mm-mm. I think mine was more like, I think the last one we had was $3,000 or $5,000. that we had to pay. But
So are you guys getting the disclosures?
no,
Okay, so we just had this conversation with Melissa because we got 3 that we got from wholesalers are supposed to be closing in the next 30 days.
Mhm.
And this is the first time doing assignment, contract
Mhm.
assignment, and we didn't have those. So she said, reach out to Paula, reached out to Paula, and Paula said, you need those. So what are you guys doing? But just not getting it?
not getting them yet. I mean, legally, everybody that sells property should have them. It's not just a realtor function, right? Everybody. But they don't have them, they don't have them.
Okay, but if it does hit the MLS, then they do need to make that.
They should, yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna say they will, but they should, yeah. During that 1 hour period, you got to go see the house. I mean, that's pretty much your only time you can look at it. So you better have somebody with you that knows what they're looking at and can help you price out, any kind of construction you're gonna have to do, a rehab or remodel. So you definitely got to have your ducks in a row to use a wholesaler.
Well, the one that we use, they allow us to go and like we just went in with the contractor, HVAC guy.
Mhm.
It seemed pretty good, but we
Good.
had another one that is, they had to take this over for, because I think once you realize once the seller realized what they were reselling for. But
Oh,
he did it. We got it.
Oh, okay. Yvonne, did you have another comment?
No. I'm just listening. Thank you.
Oh, okay, yep, no problem. Any other questions on,
Chris, did you see my message? We couldn't hear anything that was being talked about in the office. If you could just let us know, that would be great.
okay, we'll do. Any other comments on where to find properties? All right. Financing. Financing is a big thing. You notice how we talked about tight timeframes with wholesalers and off-market properties. Well, one of the ways you can succeed with those tight timeframes is to have your financing lined up. You don't have time to go out and apply for a loan. So you better have your ducks in a row. Couple of them that I recommend are on here, and we'll talk about them in depth a little bit, is a local bank. Now, not all local banks will work with flippers. I don't think we work with First Bank, and I don't think they work with house flippers. I'm pretty sure they don't. They may have changed their policies. Hard money lenders is pretty much a private individual or a private company. And they can definitely be an option. They can work a lot quicker than local banks can. In syndication, so going out and finding Jerry and Hosanna and Rochelle that's got money and that will lend you money. They work a lot quicker than house flipper, or excuse me, hard money lenders, and definitely quicker than local banks. Now, as you might figure, they're going to be more expensive. But again, you got to have all of your ducks in a row to do this. And a lot of people may not be able to go to a local bank because of debt, what you already owe. I don't know. So there's definitely advantages to all three of them. And we'll talk about them in depth here for a second. So your local bank, first question you got to ask, how are you going to take possession of the property? Are you going to be an LLC, or you're going to do it under your own as a person, individual? The reason I ask that, because you're going to go to two different people in the bank if you take it as an LLC or take it as an individual. So if you take it as an LLC, you're going to go to the commercial lender. You take it as a person, personal residence or secondary residence or investment property on your own, you're going to go to the, I don't know what they call them, personal lenders, whatever. So you got to have that figured out. Setting up an LLC is not a quick task. It especially with the state nowadays, it takes forever to get things changed and done. So make sure you know how you're going to do that. Make sure your clients know how they're going to do that. I wouldn't show them properties unless, if you have a client, unless they know how they're going to take possession, they've already got everything set up. Because you are wasting your time if you don't. Local banks, the cool thing about setting it up as an LLC is taking possession of a property under an LLC is you have greater asset protection. So theoretically, someone cannot come in if they slip and fall at your investment property. They can't come in and sue you as a person and take your personal residence. That's what an LLC offers. So with that protection, you got a question? Can I tell them what you just said? So Liz just asked, she bought a house at the beach. So we're all going down to Liz's place July 4th. She asked, should she be buying her beach house as an LLC? So I guess it depends on your risk tolerance. What's your risk tolerance, right? Because you're not going to have to pay as much down if you buy it as an individual, right?
So can I buy it now and switch it to my phone?
No, I'll tell you about that in a second. That's a good question. So Liz said, can you buy it now and switch it? And I'll tell you why in just a second. So if you buy it with an LLC, it's considered a commercial loan. You're probably gonna have to put 20% down minimum, maybe more. As an individual, you might get an FHA loan and get 3.5%, down, which is fantastic. Is that what you're
No.
conventional?
Yeah, we're doing the 10 down.
Okay.
20, but I didn't want to,
Yep.
but you may want to.
Yep. So Liz said they're doing 10% down. So that's not too bad. Tip, is that what you said you're putting down?
Yeah.
Is that just for-
Personal use or is it to rent?
No, we're gonna be renting it out for sure, like Airbnb and all that.
So Liz said she's going to be renting it out for Airbnb and not just personal use. So the thing you asked about switching it from personal to an LLC, you got to ask your lender. If you don't ask your lender, it can be considered loan fraud because the bank made a loan to Liz Hallman, not to Liz Hallman LLC. And if they find out, they could kick in what's called a due on sale clause, which means Liz now has to pay all of her money ASAP.
So technically my LLC has been set up with the state, but I don't have my little number from the.
So it's not set up.
Okay, so if it. It's like February.
Mhm.
So if I get that number in the meantime, could I switch the loan?
So Liz doesn't have her EIN number for her LLC yet. And she's asking, can she switch the loan during the loan before you close? My guess is that's a bank question because so what you're going to do though, you're switching from a personal loan to a commercial loan because you switched it from your individual to an LLC. So my guess would be no, or there's going to be a lot of hoops to jump through. Your EIN number, you should have had that by now. I mean, I know the state's slow right now, but they shouldn't be that slow.
Like we had when we set ours up, we had it in 3 days. Now we did
Yeah.
Expedia our thing, but
Who set it up for you? Your CPA should have it by
yeah,
now.
we should.
You probably have to ask them.
We had an attorney set ours up.
Yeah, we did too.
Literally had it like 2.
So Liz is talking about having problems getting her EIN number. She set it up in February and doesn't have it yet. Really, you don't have an LLC until you get that number. You can't operate as one. So,
Hey, Chris.
yes, Amy.
So the seller in that situation, if she switches, Could the seller say no and cancel the whole transaction?
I guess you could, Amy. That's a great point. Yeah, I mean, the seller, because you're changing the terms of the contract if you change who the buyer is, you know? So yeah, that's a good point.
That's what I was thinking. That's why I asked.
Yeah, yeah. I think your bigger problem is going to be the bank. But yeah. Any questions on financing through an LLC? I mean, that's how I got all of mine set up. My wife would not sign on anything if we had to do it personally on a flip. She told me that up front, so that's why we did it as an LLC. Now I don't have to get her to sign on anything. So, but just to have that asset protection to me is worth it. Personal loans, of course, there's no asset protection. So if somebody slips and falls at Liz's beach house, not trying to scare you, Liz, but they can sue you and your family and take everything you got. But other than that, it's great. But you do have a lower down payment, right? That's a good thing. So there are advantages to doing that as a personal loan. Now, the thing is, if you ask an attorney or you ask an accountant, which way would you do it? They're always going to say an LLC. I think it's a conspiracy because now they get another set of taxes they got to do and another set of LLC or corporation documents that they've got to fill out. But I know a lot of people that own them as individually. So that's completely up whatever risk tolerance you and your significant other have. Hard money financing. Anybody in here ever used hard money financing? Explain hard money. Hard money is basically a private institution that lends money. It's not a bank. They're not backed by or insured by FDIC. Not necessarily an individual, but it's a private company that does it. One of them that we use is called Fund That Flip. They loan us money. The good thing about it, those wholesalers that want you to close in 14 days or 12 days, Fund That Flip can fund it that quickly. We've actually had them funded in less than 7 days.
A lot of times, like they don't, hard money is like, they don't really care as long as the numbers make sense, right?
Right. The numbers got to make sense.
What your money, what your income is. And that
So typically they're going to charge you a higher interest rate
Right.
up front, but the more experience you get with them,
that's right.
the lower that interest rate goes. So if you have a good track record with them, your interest rate's going to lower.
What is that typically? You just see starting out.
I mean, it could be anywhere from 10 to 12%.
Yeah, that's what.
I mean, that's expensive, but if you're in a short-term deal and you got an easy flip, it may be worth it. You know,
That's not too bad. That's even more.
no, that's not bad at all. Right. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, that used to be the norm. So that's not necessarily a bad thing to have. Yeah, those interest rates, I think the interest rate we have on one of ours is 10 point something. But we've got experience with them and honestly, they're super easy to deal with. I can call them today and say, hey, we got this house on 123 Main Street. Here's our budget. We all fund it and they'll send us back a confirmation, usually the same day.
Oh, yeah.
So they're really quick to deal with. Trying to think of a couple of other ones. I can't think of any of them right now, of course. There's one I see on Facebook all the time, but
Where is Fund That Flip? Are they like just national or something?
no idea. No idea where they're at.
How do you find them?
Look, just Google Fund That Flip. Yeah. There's I cannot think of, there's another company.
Livestream? Is Livestream one?
Lightstream.
Hmm.
I don't think I've heard of them, Amy. Look up
I'll look it up.
yeah, I look up there's a couple of them that are capital, something capital companies, and they all lend money.
This one might be one, because it was a It's not really a pre-approval, but it's with funds. There's somebody who's going to buy something to flip. And it's at Mountain Capital LLC. And I don't know if.
App, Melissa says App Mountain, APP Mountain Capital. Typically, anybody you see with a capital at the end of it's going to be a lender, private money lender
Okay.
of some sort. Yeah. You're going to have a personal guarantee on it. They're up front to get set up with them. It might take a little bit longer just because they can get a little bit of information from you. But once you're set up with them, man, you're ready to pull trigger. What's that?
What does that mean? Personal guarantee.
If you default on the loan, they're coming after you, even if the loan is to the LLC. So Rochelle asked what a personal guarantee meant, and that's what I'm saying is if Chris Puckett LLC fails to pay on the loan, they're coming after Chris Puckett. Make sure you have your numbers. What's the rehab cost? What you're going to sell the property for? What's your time frame? Those things are vital for those hard money lenders. That's what they're going to go on. And like Jerry said, if the numbers make sense, they're going to fund it more than likely. And they are way easier to deal with than a dadgum bank. Again, I don't know what small banks will even lend on flips anymore. First Bank won't. I don't know if First Citizens will, and I think URA used to. I don't know. Again, I don't know if they do anymore. It's a risk. So if you think about it from a bank standpoint, the bank wants in the long haul because they make money over the long haul. They're making a little bit at a time, and if you flip it, you're only keeping it for 3 to 6 months. They're not going to make a lot of interest. It's really not worth their time to do that, not to mention the risk. Yeah, so they don't want to deal with it. Plus, if most banks don't keep loans, they sell them off, Fannie and Freddie Mac, and they can't sell those off, so they don't want them on their books. Any questions about hard money financing? All right, my next one is my favorite one. This is syndication. Syndication is just basically finding a network of people that will pay you money to flip a house and you pay them back with interest. Easy peasy, right? This is all we do. I mean,
Can you say that definition again?
say what?
The definition of syndication.
I'm gonna have to rewind it. Finding a network of people that will fund your flip and you pay them back with interest. Yeah, I mean, it could be one rich person. I just don't know those rich people. I had to piecemeal them together. But we would rather do it this way than even deal with a hard money lender. Actually, me and Jeremy, we loan each other money all the time on deals. I mean, I'm not funding all of his stuff, but I fund some of it, and he does vice versa. So if you can find say you find a $100,000 mill house, say those existed anymore, right? And you could find 2 people to lend you $50,000 and you pay them 10% at the end of the deal. It's pretty cut and dry and easy, right? Now you got to factor that 10% into your cost. So instead of paying them back 100,000, you're going to pay them back 110,000 total. But if I'm the person lending the money and I can get my money back in 4 months, and if I turn around and reinvest it, and then I do it again that year, over a 1 year period, I made 33% on my money. You can't make that anywhere else legally, you know? So lending money can be a good way to make money if you wanted to. That ain't really what we're talking about here, but and it can be a great way of financing deals too. Typically you'll get, depending on the duration of the loan, you'll get 10, 15% on your money. So yeah, it's more expensive. Again, it's higher interest rate, but there's a price to pay for the ease of it. You don't have the bank regulations. Make sure you're borrowing money from somebody you want to deal with. That's just a side note. So typically the way these are secured is with a promissory note. So we've got a promissory note that Nick drew up for us. And what it says is if I'm loaning Jerry $50,000 on 123 Main Street and Jerry defaults, I have a claim on that property. So the bank can go and resell it, if there's any money owed to the bank, they can get it. And then I'm next in line to get my money. So it's secured. It's a way to secure your loan. And those are legal and binding. It's not something we just magically drew up. Again, have your numbers or your numbers going to work. And honestly, some people don't care if your numbers work. If you tell me I need $50,000 and I'm going to pay you back 55, and I'm going to get a promissory note stating that, I don't give a hoot if your numbers work or not. I'm getting $55,000 back, right? I don't care if you get paid a dime. And they are easier to deal with, typically, as long as you get good people to work with. Make sure you get good people to work with. Any questions on syndication?
Are there Facebook groups of these people that are like private investors that would want to?
So Rochelle asked if there are Facebook groups of people looking to lend money privately. So I have found them through, I used to be a member of the Metrolina Real Estate Investors Association. And that was wholesalers, flippers, and lenders. That's how I found them, because to me, that give them a little bit of credibility because they knew to come to that. I'd be scared to death to find somebody off of Facebook. And you know, one thing that we started doing about 2.5 was right when COVID started. So summer of 2020, I knew there were a couple other folks that I knew that were looking to do the same thing I was looking to do. And we all met every other Saturday and talked about what we had going on. And do you want to lend money on this, or I'll lend money on that? Or do we all want to get together and partner? So I go back to the networking piece, network with a group of like-minded people that, you know, maybe they don't want to get in on a flip, but they would rather lend you money on something. Now you got to take care of them and you got to pay them back because you want them to come back. You want to give you more money. So any other questions on syndication? All right. How are you going to budget? This is the biggest pitfall most people fall into and lose their shirt on in when they flip houses. You're going to hear a term called ARV, or after repair value. Basically means how much can you sell that house for? What's the market value of the house? You need to know that right up front. If I go see a house and you tell me it's a 3.2 in Landis, I'm pretty much going to know what I can sell it for max. You should know that too. So don't be selling in your markets you don't know about. But if you don't already know that number, it shouldn't take you long to figure it out. Then you start backwards. Okay, I can sell it for $250,000. Now what can I buy it for? How much is my repair budget going to be? How much are my holding costs going to be? So your rehab costs, you got to find out. You better have a good source of information. What does that sound? My computer? It is hot in here. Okay. You should have somebody that is going to be able to give you a quote on rehab. You should have somebody that can walk through a house and tell you what needs to be rehabbed. I have seen some really crappy rehabs. And there's some people out there that do it for a living and done really well, but they do crap work. So make sure you got somebody that can help you with that. That'll be your biggest pitfall. And one of the things that I love mill houses, but if you start digging too far, if it's not just, refinishing the floors and painting, putting in countertops, then you're going to find something extra. You're going to knock down a wall and find termites. You're going to find Lord knows what kind of things. So be careful, be realistic. Always work in a cushion. If you're after repair value on a house is $250,000, you can get it for 100, but your rehab budget's going to be $125,000. Might not be the one for you, because you can make 20 or 25,000 on paper up front. But what happens if lumber goes up? What happens if you find termite damage? What happens if something comes up on the home inspection? You always need some kind of a cushion financially to make sure you're going to make money at the end.
Hey, Chris,
Yes.
what would you consider like a profitable percentage, or like, where are you looking for your bottom line at the end when you sell?
So that's a good question, Amy. One of the things I look at is how much can I make in the stock market every year? I mean, I don't know, 8%, 10% maybe. So if I can make 20% on a flip, or if it's a small flip, if I can make $30,000, then I'm all for it. Now, if you get if you get below that $30,000, I get worried, because you can run into that. Do I have enough cushion if I need to tear out some rotten wood? If the band seal has termite damage, to me, you got to have a flat amount that you won't go below. And you know what? If you make $30,000 on it, perfect. But you got to have some cushion in there for unseen items. Now, Amy, that 20% and $30,000 is just a number we made up amongst ourselves. That can be whatever you have a risk tolerance for, But if you're making $30,000 a project, and as long as you're not taking a year and a half to do it, then you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Holding costs. This is something that people do not take into consideration. And this can be a pitfall for you when you're budgeting as well. Utilities. You got to have utilities on it now so your folks can work. Electrical and water, right? You're going to have those on. That's a cost. Taxes. You're going to have to pay taxes, property taxes, while you own the house. Make sure you budget for that. Insurance. Insurance is a biggie. If you go, Melissa, I'm going to ask you, if your house is vacant, for how long do you have to get vacant home insurance or absentee insurance, or whatever they call it? Do you know? Is it 90 days?
Could be, I was gonna say 60, but I don't remember.
So there's a time frame that if your house is vacant for, we're trying to figure out if it's 60 or 90 days, then you have to change your insurance policy, right? And the vacant home insurance policy is flipping expensive, very expensive, and it don't pay much. It don't cover much at all. I had one in Salisbury that I had for almost 2 years, and the insurance was outrageous. Pipes burst twice on me, and they didn't cover either one of them. They said basically all it would cover was fire. So I'm like, I need to pay a hobo to go set it on fire and get my money back out of it. But I did not. That would be unethical. But make sure you got your insurance costs covered and also your loan cost. So remember, we talked about your options. Are you going to finance it through, excuse me, a bank, hard money lender or private lender, or are you going to finance it through a group? Make sure you know what those costs are.
And if you're going through like a, hard money lender, you have to pay them the rent every month.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Rochelle said you got to pay a hard money lender every month. So the structures I've ran into are just like a bank. So you're going to pay them X number of dollars up front. And then you're going to have to pay a monthly payment. Yeah. And sometimes they're interest only. So you'll pay interest for the duration that you have the project and then pay the whole amount of the loan at the end of the project. So you're not paying any principal as you go along, if that makes sense.
And with your syndication, most of the time, it's just paid back one time at the end.
So for syndication, I mean, that can be structured any way you want it. The way we've done it is you loan me $50,000 today on a purchase. When we're done in 4 months, I'm going to pay you back your money plus interest.
Right.
That's the only payment you're getting. Now, again, that can be structured however you want it, whatever suits you. That's just the way we structure our personal loans. Any other questions on budgeting? All right, the only couple things I got left, resale, location, location, location. That still matters in real estate. Not everything is selling in 18 hours. My house on South Main Street in Kannapolis, if we would have moved it 2 houses down, we'd have had it sold 10 times over by now, but it's beside a gas station. And most people don't want to live beside a gas station. So location still matters. Condition matters. You can't sell just any pile of crap and in 18 hours. I've got another one, lucky me, on Jackson Park Road that is not mine, but I got a client that has it listed as not in the greatest condition, and they overpriced it. And guess what? Still sitting there. The one house in Cabarrus County that's not under contract right now, and it's mine. So condition doesn't.
Is
Go
that the
ahead.
commercial / resident one?
What was that?
Is that your commercial / resident one?
Yeah, Amy, it is. It's zoned office institutional, but you can have a residence in it. So yeah, it's right across from, it used to be an attorney's office and they were selling it as a residence. Yeah. So condition matters, folks. And the last one that we'll talk about, tax implication. I am not an accountant, but flipping a house is considered short-term capital gains, and that is a high percentage of taxes. So make sure that your folks realize that those tax hits can be painful, very painful.
Do you recommend or for your personal doing the 1031?
So Rochelle asked if I recommend a 1031. I've never done one, honestly, on a flip.
If you're just gonna be doing another flip, is it really worth doing a 1031? Because then you're just gonna have to pay the taxes when you flip that one, right?
The 1031, I mean, I tell my pre-licensing students, your bill's going to come due one of these days, right?
That's right.
So unless you pass it on to your kids and, you know,
But I mean,
congratulations, Junior.
if you're gonna buy the property and just leave it until your kids, then maybe, but.
I don't know. I've never done that. I don't know. Because you got to identify a property within 45 days, I believe it is. I don't know if I would roll it to another flip. I might roll it to a commercial property if I was going to hold a little bit longer, but that's my personal opinion. Yeah.
I thought you all had to be like residential.
No,
but
uh-uh.
you can roll it to commercial.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're making good money on it, then maybe something worth doing. Yeah. But I have a problem with the government telling me what to do with my money. You know, that's why I don't like 1031. All right, folks, that's it. That's all I got. Anybody got any questions? And that was a very, very, I don't know if you call it a high level or low level look at Clifton houses, but we might have to do a part 2 to get into the weeds a little bit.
I think I would just add that if you're going to do a flip, or if you have clients that want to do a flip, tell them they need you. Because you know what buyers want. We had one of our clients that did a flip in Rockwell, and we had so many people or agents comment on one little thing that would have cost him maybe 200 to fix. He had his fridge in this weird location, and it was like the cabinet. So tell them, you know, just say, let me approve your
So,
client.
if you didn't hear, Rochelle brought up a very good point. If you're not doing it yourself and you're doing it, you're helping a client, make sure that they know they need you to sell it, get as many eyeballs on it as possible, and to get as many approving eyeballs on it. So you know what's selling, you know what's weird, you know what turns buyers off. Just because you lay LVP flooring and the fresh coat of paint doesn't mean the house is going to sell. If there's other issues, weird layouts, things of that nature, you can recommend them. You know, here's where I would spend my money to sell the house. And that's value you're adding to the client. And hopefully you get somebody that will do multiple deals with you, which is fantastic, repeat customers. But as long as they're good quality repeat customers. Any other comments or questions? All right, folks. Well, I appreciate you. I got this recorded and we will be sending it out later today. If you missed anything, be on the lookout for, I guess we'll do part 2, maybe a little bit deeper. I hope to have a general contractor in with us next time. And maybe that'll provide some insights for you as well on how to look at a house and how to budget. So, all right, folks, I appreciate you and we will see you later. Have a good one.